Mike Wolfe, the famous star of American Pickers, faced a tragic end when he was sentenced for the death of his longtime co-host, Frank Fritz. Fritz's death, initially believed to be due to complications from a stroke, uncovered a chilling secret when investigators revealed that it was not a natural accident, but a deliberate act. Mike Wolfe, who had once won the hearts of millions of viewers with his image as a passionate and enthusiastic collector, now had to pay the price for the crime he had hidden. Fritz's death was not just the end of a life, but also the fall of a television legend. In the tense trial, Wolfe not only lost all of his fame and career, but also faced a life sentence without the possibility of parole. "Goodbye forever," his final words echoed in the courtroom, marking the dark end for a man once beloved, who ultimately revealed himself to be a traitor. If you feel that this story is a powerful wake-up call for truth and justice, don't hesitate to share this video. Let's stand together, speak up, and protect the values of integrity that we believe in. Don't let deception and betrayal continue to be tolerated. Act today by sharing this video so everyone can become aware and fight for justice. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on other important stories. Thank you for watching, and remember, the truth always prevails. Wolfe's deliberate poisoning of his former business partner, someone who had complete trust in him, shocked many, with some even calling it a serious crime. While many fans believed the tension between the two pickers was just a stunt to boost viewership, Wolfe is now facing serious charges for what prosecutors describe as a revenge killing driven by jealousy and greed. However, social media reports indicate that the initial charges were downgraded as investigators gathered more evidence. One post revealed that Wolfe was initially arrested after a crew member from American Pickers led him to Fritz's house when he was already dead. The Iowa State Police conducted a thorough investigation and found incriminating evidence, including Wolfe's fingerprints on a pill bottle and suspicious text messages sent to Fritz, prompting them to pursue the first-degree murder charge. The investigation into Fritz's death began when the medical examiner noticed inconsistencies in his toxicology report. The official cause of death was initially attributed to complications from his previous stroke, but the autopsy results revealed that the prescription drug levels in Fritz's body far exceeded the prescribed amount for his condition. This immediately raised red flags, especially since Fritz had been very careful in following his medication regimen during his recovery. The Iowa State Police quietly launched an investigation, focusing on those who had been in contact with Fritz in his final hours. What they uncovered was even more shocking than what veteran detectives had anticipated. Security footage from Fritz's neighborhood showed Wolfe's vehicle arriving late at night, about 3 hours before emergency services were called. That night, it was Wolfe who dialed 911, claiming he had come to check on his old friend and found him unresponsive. When paramedics arrived, they found Fritz non-responsive with no pulse. Despite attempts at resuscitation, he was declared dead at the scene. Initial reports suggested that the cause of death was related to Fritz's previous stroke, but the toxicology results revealed otherwise. What particularly raised the investigators' suspicions was Wolfe's behavior immediately after Fritz's death. Instead of taking time to mourn, as one would expect, Wolfe quickly took action to assert control over Fritz's collection and intellectual property. Within 48 hours, he had contacted Fritz's lawyers about acquiring the rights to Fritz's name and image for future American Pickers merchandise. According to the testimony of a production staff member, Wolfe immediately took action to access Fritz's storage locations containing valuable antiques that had never appeared on the show. Some crew members reported that Wolfe appeared unusually focused and was not particularly grieving when discussing business matters right after Fritz's death. When detectives searched Wolfe's home and office, they discovered a hidden safe containing several unlabeled pill bottles, which were later identified as containing the same type of drugs found in Fritz's system. The most condemning discovery was a journal found in Wolfe's duffel bag, in which he wrote extensively about his growing resentment toward Fritz. Some entries were from years prior, with increasingly hostile language. In one entry just weeks before Fritz's death, Wolfe wrote, "F thinks he can come back and steal half the attention again. He forgets that without me there would be no show. He has become a burden. The network is showing me there's only one way to save what I've built." Throughout the 6-week trial, Wolfe appeared stunned as he sat quietly beside his lawyers while the prosecution presented evidence of how he had methodically planned Fritz's murder. The jury heard evidence showing that he had researched undetectable poisons and methods to make a murder appear as a natural cause. His internet search history revealed queries such as, "Can stroke-drug interactions be detected after death?" and "How to make someone's death look like a stroke complication." The prosecution argued that Wolfe exploited Fritz's previous health issues, using them as the perfect cover for murder. Former American Pickers crew members testified about witnessing troubling changes in the relationship between Wolfe and Fritz in the years leading up to Fritz's departure from the show and his subsequent death. A production assistant testified that she overheard heated arguments about the future direction of the show, with Wolfe demanding full creative control. He told Frank that he had lost his equal payment rights due to his health issues. The assistant testified to this. Several witnesses described Wolfe becoming increasingly controlling, frequently bad-mouthing Fritz to network executives, and isolating him from longtime friends in the antiques community. Perhaps the most emotional testimony came from Danielle Keeby, who reluctantly stepped forward to testify for the prosecution. Fighting back tears, she described confronting Wolfe about his behavior toward Fritz. "I noticed Mike had become obsessed with being the sole face of American Pickers. When I asked him about making amends with Frank, he became defensive and angry, telling me to stop interfering in things that weren't my concern." Colby described finding disturbing notes in Wolfe's office about Fritz's medication schedule and questioning Wolfe, who claimed he was only concerned about Frank's health. The defense attorneys tried to paint a picture of a misunderstood friendship, suggesting that Wolfe had genuinely tried to reconcile with Fritz before his death. They brought network executives to testify about Wolfe's public statements supporting Fritz's recovery. However, this theory was seriously undermined by the testimony of Fritz's personal doctor, who stated that while Fritz was concerned about his health, he remained optimistic about his recovery and had plans to start his own antiques business. The doctor also confirmed that he had never prescribed the drugs found in Fritz's system at such high doses. During cross-examination, Wolfe's carefully maintained composure began to crack. When asked directly if he had given Fritz the drugs, he snapped at the prosecutor, "You don't know what it's like to build something from nothing and watch someone else take the credit, smiling in front of the cameras while everyone thinks he's just as important to the success of the show." His outburst caused the defense team to request a recess, but the damage had already been done. The jury later reported that this moment was pivotal in their deliberations, as it revealed the lingering resentment Wolfe had harbored for years after Fritz left the show. The financial motive became clear when forensic accountants testified about suspicious changes in Wolfe's business structure. In the months leading up to Fritz's death, Wolfe had quietly restructured his companies to take control of Fritz's intellectual property in the event that he became incapacitated or passed away. If you believe in the power of truth and justice, join us in spreading this message to as many people as possible. Every action, every share from you helps create a stronger community where deception cannot thrive. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support us in continuing to share important stories. Together, we can create change and protect the values that matter. Thank you for standing with us, and be sure to keep following so you don't miss other meaningful videos. He had also purchased a business insurance policy for Fritz, making his company the beneficiary of a $5 million payout. Additionally, prosecutors revealed that Wolfe had set up several shell companies that Fritz was unaware of and had transferred valuable antiques into these entities, totaling over $2 million in assets. The jury deliberated for just 4 hours before returning a guilty verdict. When the judge announced a life sentence without the possibility of parole, everything completely spiraled out of control. Wolfe, who had remained calm throughout the trial, suddenly leapt up and shouted, "Don't you understand? He's going to destroy everything. He's going to destroy my legacy." He charged across the defense table, knocking over stacks of papers and a water cup. The bailiffs rushed toward him, but he lunged toward Fritz's family, swinging wildly before they could restrain him. The courtroom erupted into chaos as people screamed and rushed toward the exits while Wolfe managed to break free again. This time, he grabbed a neck brace that had been introduced as evidence and swung it like a weapon, hitting one of the bailiffs in the shoulder. "I built American Pickers. It's my life's work," he screamed as 3 other officers wrestled him to the ground. The judge was evacuated from the courtroom as Wolfe continued to resist violently, kicking and shouting about betrayal as officers tried to subdue him. Fritz's sister, who was present at the sentencing, had to be escorted out by security when Wolfe attempted to charge toward her. "I deserve this! It's my show!" he yelled, as they finally managed to handcuff him. The most shocking moment came when Wolfe locked eyes with Danielle Colby, who was sitting in the courtroom, and shouted, "Tell them the truth! Tell them what Frank was really like!" Colby turned away, clearly distressed, while other crew members broke down in tears. The American Pickers family was torn apart by the trial, with some supporting Wolfe, while others testified for the prosecution. Court documents revealed that Wolfe had systematically turned crew members against Fritz in the years leading up to his death, creating a deep rift in the production team that may never heal. As security personnel struggled to control Wolfe, he continued his tirade, revealing even more shocking details. "He was going to start his own show," he shouted. "He told me I was outdated, that the network wanted him back." Reporters in the courtroom described the scene as chaotic, with at least 3 people injured, including Wolfe's defense attorney, who was struck by a flying water bottle. Even as they dragged him out of the courtroom, he continued shouting about betrayal and his legacy, claiming that Fritz had planned to destroy him. Legal experts later commented that his violent outburst destroyed any chance of a successful appeal, as it contradicted his defense team's argument that he was a misunderstood businessman, incapable of using violence. In the days following the courtroom outburst, Wolfe's former friends and colleagues shared stories that shed light on his character. Former American Pickers producer Thomas Reynolds described instances where Wolfe would erupt in anger behind the scenes when things didn't go his way. "He maintained this perfect, down-to-earth image in front of the cameras," Reynolds said. "But off-camera, he could become terrifying, especially toward lower-level staff. When the cameras stopped rolling, his entire attitude would change." Others have described him as increasingly paranoid in recent years, believing that Fritz was plotting to return to television with a competing show. The case has sent shockwaves through the reality TV community. American Pickers, which has reached millions of viewers worldwide, is now facing an uncertain future. The History Channel has canceled all episodes featuring Wolfe and issued a statement expressing shock and sympathy for the Fritz family. Several major sponsors have pulled their support, and the future of the show remains in doubt. The Fritz family has filed for control of his antique collection and intellectual property, promising to honor his legacy while pursuing legal action against the network for allowing Wolfe's increasingly erratic behavior. Mental health experts have analyzed the case, suggesting that Wolfe may have developed a more severe narcissistic personality disorder due to years of being in the spotlight. Dr. Robert Keller, a forensic psychologist who followed the trial, explained, "While this does not excuse his behavior, it helps explain the discrepancy between his public persona and his private actions. People with narcissistic traits can appear charming and composed while harboring intense resentment and a desire for revenge. Fritz's departure from the show would have been a long-lasting blow to his narcissism. Perhaps the most concerning thing is how Wolfe uses his platform as a television personality to manipulate public perception. In the weeks following Fritz's death, he took to social media, tearfully sharing the news of Fritz's passing due to complications from his stroke, and seized the opportunity to release special merchandise in memory of Fritz. "This is not just a murder," prosecutor Sarah Donovan said in her closing arguments. "This is a calculated deception aimed at millions of viewers who trusted him, mourning alongside a man who killed his former spouse and is exploiting their grief to enrich himself." Investigators discovered that over $1 million was donated in the weeks following Fritz's death, with most of the funds transferred into accounts that only Wolfe had access to. When Mike Wolfe began his life before the verdict, viewers and former supporters had to reconcile the image of a passionate antique collector with the reality of a man capable of murder and violence in court. Many expressed feelings of betrayal, not just by Wolfe's actions but by years of deception. "We invited him into our homes every week," said longtime American Pickers viewer Robert Jenkins. "We trusted his down-to-earth charm and passion for preservation. Finding out it was all a facade is truly devastating." Former television personalities who had appeared alongside Wolfe distanced themselves, with statements expressing shock and calling for respect for Fritz's memory. For the American Pickers crew, the tragedy continues to unfold. Testimonies during the trial revealed a deeply divided production process, with some believing in Wolfe's innocence while others were convinced of his guilt. Danielle Kaibi, who testified for the prosecution, took a leave of absence from television, citing the need to heal and reflect. In a brief statement, she requested privacy and expressed hope that the original legacy of antique preservation, which had brought them all together, could continue despite these tragic circumstances. Other crew members have largely stayed out of the public eye as they struggle with the dual trauma of losing Fritz and witnessing Wolfe being convicted of murder. The judge's final comment before Wolfe erupted in rage seemed especially prophetic. "Mr. Wolfe, you have presented yourself as a champion of American history and preservation while harboring thoughts of vengeance and murder. You used your platform to preach the values of the past while plotting to kill the man who helped build that very foundation." Today, justice is served not only for Frank Fritz, but also for the millions of viewers who trusted you. At this moment, Wolfe lunged across the table, beginning a violent outburst that would become his last public appearance before being taken away to spend the rest of his life behind bars. As the prison door closed on Mike Wolfe, his final words in the courtroom continued to echo. "Goodbye forever to all of you. The truth will be revealed one day." As the trial ended and Mike Wolfe was convicted for the death of Frank Fritz, a dark chapter in television history closed. Fritz's death was not just the loss of a person, but a wake-up call for all of us about the true nature of those we once trusted. This story is not just about betrayal, but also a reminder that justice will ultimately prevail, no matter how difficult the journey. With a life sentence, Mike Wolfe has paid for his criminal actions, but the pain he left behind for those around him will not fade easily. At the same time, Frank Fritz's legacy will live on, symbolizing honesty, passion, and selfless dedication. Though the world of American pickers has been forever changed, the spirit of preservation and the true values Fritz stood for will always endure. Farewell, Frank Fritz. Justice has been served, and the truth, though harsh, has finally been revealed. Remember, no matter how dark the shadows, the light of truth will always shine through. Mike Wolfe, one of the creators of American Pickers, has faced significant consequences following the heartbreaking loss of his longtime partner, Frank Fritz. Their relationship wasn't just professional, but a deep friendship that spanned many years. However, after this event, Mike was sentenced and confronted with unexpected challenges. In this video, we will uncover details never before revealed about this incident and explore the repercussions Mike Wolfe is currently facing. Stay tuned to learn more about the deep friendship between Mike and Frank, as well as the challenges Mike faces after the loss of his dear friend. This story not only touches the hearts of viewers, but also makes us reflect on loss and change in life. Don't take your eyes off the screen. Join me as we uncover the secrets never before revealed about Mike and Frank's story. If you want to learn more, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to catch the next video. For the past 13 years, Mike Wolfe has become a household name on American Pickers, the popular treasure hunting show on the History Channel. Their long journey of searching for valuable antiques brought Wolfe and his partner Frank Fritz to the big screen, creating a familiar image for millions of fans. However, everything changed suddenly when Wolfe was sentenced to life in prison, a shocking event that left both the television industry and fans stunned. Fritz's death marked the end of a chapter, and it also sparked a chilling investigation into the dark secrets hidden behind the spotlight. Immediately after Fritz's passing, Wolfe posted a tribute on Instagram expressing his grief and respect for his longtime friend. "I am heartbroken to hear about Frank's passing. I've known Frank for more than half my life, and what you see on TV is exactly what we had in real life. He was a special person. Rest in peace, my friend," Wolfe wrote. However, those heartfelt words became questionable when an investigation uncovered the horrifying truth behind Fritz's death. Initially, Fritz's death was attributed to complications from a stroke. However, upon further investigation, a shocking discovery changed everything. An empty pill bottle was found in Fritz's home, with faint fingerprints of Mike Wolfe on it. This raised suspicions among investigators that Fritz's death may not have been natural, but rather a sign of a deliberate murder. Prosecutors conducted a thorough investigation, including reviewing Fritz's medical records, and discovered a fentanyl concentration in his system, a potent opioid painkiller. This was highly unusual, as fentanyl was not prescribed to Fritz. This raised serious questions about his death. Based on the evidence and testimonies from witnesses, including text messages from Wolfe to Fritz, prosecutors concluded that this was not an accidental overdose, but a deliberate murder. As the investigation deepened, details about the lives and relationship between Wolfe and Fritz began to emerge. Many believed that a conflict between the two might have led Wolfe to murder Fritz. Prosecutors argued that this was a motive-driven killing, fueled by jealousy and ambition, with the goal of increasing viewership for American pickers. Data from Wolfe's phone revealed searches for information on hard-to-detect poisons and methods to simulate a stroke-like death, further strengthening suspicions of a carefully planned conspiracy. This case has not only shocked the American Pickers fan community, but also stands as a great tragedy, where a beloved show built on friendship and collaboration was shattered by crime and betrayal. Frank Fritz's death is no longer just a sad story, but a lesson about betrayal in the world of showbiz and the dark sides hidden behind the spotlight. After Frank Fritz's passing, the incident initially seemed like a natural death due to complications from a stroke. However, the investigation slowly revealed unbelievable details, raising suspicions about the truth behind his death. Investigators quickly realized that Mike Wolfe, Fritz's longtime partner on American Pickers, could be the primary suspect in the case. One of the most crucial details in the investigation was the emergency call Mike Wolfe made when he found Fritz lying motionless. Initially, this call seemed like a sign of concern, but upon closer examination, many doubts began to arise. Wolfe reported that Fritz was lying motionless and appeared to be in distress. However, when police and medical personnel arrived at the scene, Wolfe's actions didn't reflect someone grieving the loss of a friend. While reports indicated he cried, his strange behavior and quick attempt to control Fritz's assets just hours after his death raised suspicions. Mike Wolfe, who had been closely acquainted with Fritz for years, likely knew all too well about his health history. Fritz had previously suffered a stroke and had heart issues, making the use of fentanyl, a powerful painkiller, a fitting choice to conceal the truth about his death. Fentanyl could make Fritz's death appear as a result of a stroke relapse, rather than a deliberate murder. Details about Fritz's position when found and other discoveries seemed carefully staged to reinforce the theory of a natural death. Immediately after Fritz's passing, Wolfe seemed to act quickly to seize his late friend's assets. Within 48 hours, he contacted a lawyer to discuss the rights to Fritz's name and image, intending to use them for future commercial projects. This raised suspicions about Wolfe's true motives. Furthermore, when Fritz's will was revealed, a major shock occurred. Nearly $6 million of Fritz's estate was left to Wolfe, causing outrage among Fritz's family and friends. Fritz's father, William Fritz, filed a lawsuit to challenge the validity of the will, claiming his son was not mentally capable of signing it, especially given his declining health. Things became even more complicated when prosecutors discovered that Wolfe had repeatedly searched for information on how to use hard-to-detect poisons and methods to simulate death in his internet history. This further fueled suspicions that Fritz's death was carefully staged and meticulously planned. Wolfe's quick actions to control Fritz's assets and commercial projects immediately after his passing raised doubts, leading many to believe that, with the help of fentanyl and careful calculation, Wolfe had orchestrated the death of his longtime partner. This case is not just a story of betrayed friendship, but also a lesson in greed and manipulation. Wolfe crafted a web of evidence and events to support the theory of a natural death, but his swift actions to seize Fritz's assets only exposed the truth of what really happened. As the investigation unfolded, the harsh reality became clear. Frank Fritz's death was not an accident, but a carefully planned conspiracy orchestrated by his longtime partner. The investigation into Frank Fritz's death uncovered a chilling and haunting picture of ambition, jealousy, and a meticulously orchestrated criminal plan. Although Fritz's death was initially attributed to complications from a stroke, new evidence shattered this false narrative. A series of strange events and unsettling clues, from Mike Wolfe's suspicious internet searches to journal entries revealing his obsessive thoughts and determination to eliminate Fritz, unveiled the dark motives behind Wolfe's actions. Evidence surfaced as the investigation delved deeper. A secret safe at Wolfe's home and office was discovered, containing unlabeled pill bottles. When detectives tested the substances inside, the results revealed they matched fentanyl, the powerful painkiller found in Fritz's system. This shocked the public, as all signs pointed to Fritz's death not being an accident, but rather a deliberate murder. Wolfe's personal journal entries provided further suspicious details, revealing a buildup of anger and jealousy toward Fritz. One entry, written just weeks before Fritz's death, contained the chilling line, "Without me, this show wouldn't exist. He's become a burden, and now there's only one way to protect what I've built." These words weren't just the frustration of a colleague. They were a clear sign of a carefully calculated criminal plot. Wolfe didn't simply feel annoyed, but saw Fritz as an obstacle that needed to be removed to achieve his personal goals. Immediately after Fritz's death, Wolfe's actions raised even more suspicion. Not only did he attempt to control Fritz's assets, but he also initiated legal efforts to seize the intellectual property rights of American pickers. This move not only showed his greed, but also proved that Wolfe had a premeditated plan in place all along. Wolfe's emergency call, in which he appeared frantic upon discovering Fritz motionless, seemed to come from genuine worry and concern. However, as investigators delved deeper, inconsistencies in Wolfe's testimony raised doubts about his true motives. One crucial detail was security camera footage showing Wolfe's car at Fritz's house just hours before the 911 call was made. This completely contradicted Wolfe's claim that he found Fritz already unconscious. The trial lasted for 6 weeks, capturing attention across the United States. Prosecutors built a solid case based on an undeniable array of evidence. Discoveries about the fentanyl, Wolfe's online searches for murder methods, and journal entries revealing his anger toward Fritz painted a clear picture of Wolfe's greed and meticulous planning. Medical experts confirmed that the fentanyl levels in Fritz's system were far too high, beyond a safe threshold, and could not have been self-administered. This firmly established that Fritz's death was not an accident, but a premeditated murder. In the end, with undeniable evidence and clear criminal actions, Mike Wolfe was convicted of murder. This case not only exposed a dark conspiracy, but also served as a stark reminder of greed and betrayal in what seemed to be a close, long-standing friendship between two former partners. Frank Fritz's death was not a random accident, but a premeditated crime, carefully orchestrated by his longtime partner, Mike Wolfe. Initially believed to be caused by a stroke, new evidence revealed the truth behind Fritz's death. This not only exposed the hatred and jealousy Wolfe had harbored for years, but also revealed how he exploited Fritz's health to seize control of American pickers. Witnessing the story of Mike and Frank shows us the price of pursuing power, leading to horrifying plots and unimaginable crimes. What are your thoughts on this story? Let us know in the comments. If you have a different perspective, feel free to share with us. Want to hear more about another story? Just tell us. One of the key points in the case was the presence of fentanyl in Fritz's system. This drug, not prescribed to Fritz, was used to create a perfect cover for his death. Doctors testified that although Fritz had a history of heart disease and stroke, he remained optimistic about his recovery and had plans to open an antique shop. This showed that Fritz not only survived health issues but also intended to continue his work, completely contradicting what Wolfe wanted others to believe. Evidence from witnesses and collected documents shattered Wolfe's defense. A production assistant from American Pickers revealed that she had witnessed heated arguments between Wolfe and Fritz over control of the show. According to her testimony, Wolfe expressed anger and frustration as Fritz's health deteriorated, no longer being able to participate as before. Danielle Colby, a cast member, also testified that Wolfe became increasingly obsessed with being the sole face of the show and warned her not to get involved in matters concerning Fritz. What was surprising wasn't just Wolfe's ruthlessness, but also his clear financial motive. Forensic accountants testified that before Fritz's death, Wolfe had quietly restructured his business to seize control of Fritz's intellectual property, preparing for a situation where Fritz could no longer participate in their work. This not only proved that Wolfe had a strong motive to eliminate Fritz, but also strengthened the argument that Fritz's death was part of a calculated plan to take ownership of his assets. Throughout the trial, Wolfe's attitude and behavior became increasingly suspicious. A key moment in the proceedings came when Wolfe erupted in anger while being questioned about his motives. Although he had remained calm for most of the trial, this outburst exposed the resentment and jealousy Wolfe had harbored for years, which ultimately shifted the course of the trial. The jury recognized that it was Wolfe's own fury that revealed what he had long kept hidden: his hatred for Fritz and his insatiable greed. Ultimately, the strong evidence of financial motive, meticulously planned criminal actions, and inconsistencies in Wolfe's testimony led to a verdict in favor of justice. Mike Wolfe was convicted of murder and received a fitting sentence for the brutal actions he took to eliminate Fritz and seize control of American Pickers. Mike Wolfe, the creator and host of American Pickers, had a successful career and was a familiar face on television. However, his life was completely upended when the dark side of his relationship with longtime partner Frank Fritz was exposed. Shocking details about Wolfe's motives and actions left millions unable to believe the truth about the person they once admired. The life sentence without parole for Wolfe marked the conclusion of the brutal crime he had committed. The cause of Fritz's death was not a stroke, but a premeditated murder. Evidence confirmed that Wolfe deliberately used the opioid painkiller fentanyl to make Fritz's death appear as an accident due to poor health. Wolfe himself was the only one who stood to gain financially from Fritz's death. Before Fritz passed away, Wolfe had signed a $5 million life insurance policy and restructured the business to seize control of Fritz's intellectual property. Prosecutors also revealed that Wolfe had secretly transferred over $2 million worth of rare antiques into shell companies. The relationship between Wolfe and Fritz, initially built on collaboration and shared passion, gradually became strained as Fritz faced serious health issues. Fritz dealt with heart problems and back issues, which prevented him from continuing to participate in the show as he had before. Meanwhile, Wolfe began to take control of every aspect of the program, and there were reports suggesting that he isolated Fritz from the show's operations, even speaking negatively about him to the executives at the History Channel. This made Fritz feel excluded and unfairly treated. Witnesses, including Danielle Colby, who co-hosted the show with Wolfe, revealed shocking details about the relationship between the two. Colby recalled that Wolfe became increasingly obsessed with being the sole face of American Pickers and warned her not to get involved in Fritz's issues. Several other production assistants confirmed that Wolfe not only pressured Fritz, but also tried to remove him from the show. Wolfe's personal journals also revealed his intense anger and ambition toward Fritz, indicating that this was not a random killing, but a calculated act to eliminate a partner who had become an obstacle. Throughout the trial, Wolfe maintained a calm exterior, but as the verdict was read, he lost control of his emotions. Upon being sentenced, he shouted, swung his walking stick, and attacked one of the officers. The life of one of the most well-known figures in reality TV was completely upended as his rage and hatred were exposed. Wolfe's final words before being taken to prison left a lasting impression, and his remarks not only reflected his despair, but also served as the last act of a master manipulator. Mike Wolfe, once the creator of American Pickers, a popular TV show, ultimately became a criminal due to greed, jealousy, and ruthless actions. Frank Fritz's death was not only the loss of a friend, but also a warning to everyone about the dangers of unchecked ambition and power. The story of Wolfe and Fritz is a heartbreaking tragedy, exposing manipulation and the exploitation of power in an industry rife with deception and betrayal. The story of Mike Wolfe, Frank Fritz, and American Pickers was not only a criminal case, but also a huge shock to the television community and fans of the show. The image of a reality TV series that once seemed like simple adventures in antique hunting is now tainted by crime, betrayal, and insatiable greed. Mike Wolfe, once the face of American Pickers, is now sentenced to life in prison for the premeditated murder of his longtime partner, Frank Fritz. Fritz's death, initially believed to be from a stroke, was revealed to be the result of a meticulous plan carried out by Wolfe. Exploiting Fritz's health condition, Wolfe used the opioid poison fentanyl to make Fritz's death appear as a natural occurrence. After the case was made public, the History Channel removed all episodes featuring Wolfe, and several major sponsors pulled their support from the show, leaving the future of American Pickers uncertain. Longtime fans were shocked and felt betrayed upon learning that the person they had trusted and admired was actually the mastermind behind Fritz's death. The investigations not only revealed Wolfe's financial motive, but also highlighted his manipulative and deceptive actions following Fritz's death. Wolfe publicly expressed his regret on social media, but at the same time, he exploited the situation to promote memorial products. This led prosecutor Sarah Donovan to assert that the case was not only a criminal act, but also a deliberate act of deception. Although American Pickers was once a symbol in the reality TV industry, Mike Wolfe's legacy is now permanently tarnished. Fans and colleagues were stunned by his betrayal of Fritz, who had contributed so much to the success of the show. Danielle Colby, a co-host, spoke out about Wolfe's actions and announced a hiatus from her career following these tragic events. She expressed hope that Fritz's spirit of antique preservation would continue to live on, even though American Pickers would never be the same. And so the story of Mike Wolfe and the passing of Frank Fritz marks the end of an emotional chapter in the history of American Pickers. This story is not just a bittersweet farewell, but also a deep longing for the memories and moments shared between two longtime partners. Despite the hardships and challenges, their friendship and the legacy they built together remain undeniable. If you found this video touching and meaningful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on more deep and interesting stories. Share your thoughts about Mike and Frank's journey in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.